Prior to European colonization of Minnesota and in fact the entire United States, there was a great diversity of wetlands. Okay, so picture in your mind what southern Minnesota, the Minnesota River Valley, looked like pre-settlement. Many wetlands, many depressional wetlands, pothole wetlands, many sizes, small ones, large ones, every shape and size you can imagine in your mind. Streams, rivers, lakes. Oh my gosh, lakes. It is Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, right? Many, great diversity of habitat, great diversity of organisms, virtually a paradise.
It's an area of depressional land that holds water and is just alive with plants and animals. It's the kidneys of our landscape when it comes to water quality. They're home to a lot of animals, insects, birds.
And since European colonization of Minnesota, we've lost 90% of our wetlands.
An example that illustrates wetland loss is found in a small watershed in the Minnesota River Basin. 7 Mile Creek is located south of Minneapolis-St. Paul, near the city of St. Peter, Minnesota. In 1854, this area was dominated by wetlands, shown in blue on the map. By 1938, farmers are draining wetlands in order to grow crops in some of the most productive soils in the state. By 1955, nearly all the wetlands were drained. This trend continued until 2003, where a study reported almost 88% loss of wetlands. This map highlights the engineered system that exists today. Private drainage tile are shown in purple, county drainage ditches and natural channels are shown in red. In this relatively small watershed of 37 square miles, researchers calculated approximately 640 miles of drainage tile and ditches. This density of drainage and wetland loss correlates with other research that estimates 90% wetland loss in this part of Minnesota.
In urban areas, there's drainage for development. In the agriculture areas, the drainage was done primarily for crop production. And in agriculture, which I'm most familiar with, these soils are very productive as long as the wetness is reduced, and so that is why we see so much drainage.
The threats to wetlands the primary threats to wetlands continue to be ditching and draining for agriculture or urban use, and the changes associated with shunting more water into those systems. We're putting more water in, and we're putting it there faster because it's running over the surfaces into our ditches and drains and increasing the flow in those systems earlier, and we get greater peak floods. More water's in there, it's getting there faster. Those wetlands acted as a buffer to slow that water down, to attenuate it, to at least temporarily store it so that it infiltrates the soil, the groundwater, more slowly and feeds the stream at a more stabilized rate. Fewer wetlands that have to do the job of a great many wetlands. We've lost that.
There's a lot of processes that happen in the wetland that benefit water quality. The storage itself benefits water quality because the less fast the water enters our rivers, the less chance there is of huge flows causing bank erosion. So they don't even need to be that close to a river to affect it. The runoff from wetlands is much cleaner in studies where there's buffers around them, but also cleaner going out and coming in where there's controls. And that's, again, the functioning that's happening in the plant community that's doing a lot to help that water even just settling out some of the sediments can be a benefit. But the benefit goes way beyond that settling out. There's a lot of purification that happens as well.
Wetland restoration is absolutely the key to restoring water quality in most watersheds, because if you look at a map of Renville County, there was hundreds of thousands of wetlands here at one time, and those were actually the kidneys of the landscape. And you know how long people live if you remove their kidneys? Not very long. And that's the same thing that's happening with the Minnesota River and with the Gulf of Mexico. We're killing it. And we need to restore some of those kidneys because we can't afford the dialysis that we're doing now. And so just good farm programs is what we need, and we can get the job done everywhere in Minnesota.